What's up, gamers? I am one of your hosts, Phoenix.
And I am your other host, Titan.
And welcome to NTAT. So today we wanted to talk about two games, Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring. So what do these games have in common? Well, look no further than the critical and commercial success of both titles. And it's not hard to see that these two games have put on a masterclass in what gaming could be and what they should be. The reason we picked this topic stems from a conversation that Titan and I had about the state of gaming over our roller coaster adventure with Diablo 4. Here's the question we want to ask. Why does modern games feel so empty? I don't mean the world that the devs created, although that can apply in many cases, but why after the initial love of a game does it start to feel like empty calories the longer you play? To answer this question, we want to take a look at the two games that seem to buck the system. Not only do they not feel like empty calories, but gamers have been getting fat off of massive amount of well-designed content. But before we get cooking, Titan, do you mind throwing up the tweets that have really put this conversation at the forefront of this discussion?
Like a lot of people, I'm deeply excited about what the lovely folks at Larian accomplished with Baldur's Gate 3. But I want to gently, preemptively push back against players taking that excitement and using it to apply criticism or a raised standard to RPGs going forward. 1 out of 10.
Okay, so we want to break this down into 3 sections: microtransactions, grind, and endgame. I want to bring your attention to 2 games. The first, a long-running fan-favorite game that has been getting major buzz lately, and not in a good way, and a recent release that was highly anticipated even by us. Let's start with the latter, Diablo 4. Before we even got good into the game, we were made well aware that there would be a cash shop with optional skins. Didn't really bother me at first. This is a common thing, right? But I remember, Titan, you saying multiple times during our playthrough that you were not feeling like the cosmetics for your character were any good. Of course, after a while, running into the same type of drip for hours, we took a look and lo and behold, there was amazing looking armor sets, right? I don't personally have a major issue with cosmetics being sold, at least not in the infancy of microtransaction when it was nothing major. But now the developers give you the most bare bone armor that they could come up with that you can earn in game with the most washed out colors. Then when you look in the cash shop, you will see the armor sets that you should have been earning in game. This brings me to the game that I have loved, or rather have a love-hate relationship with for almost 10 years, Destiny. They just had a major state of the game blow up in their faces so badly that they had to issue an emergency, "Yeah, we screwed up" announcement. In the original state of the game, one of the more egregious announcements was that they just couldn't have, or they don't have the manpower to create new armor sets for each playlist. They have 3, it's the Vanguard, the Crucible, and Gambit. Each season, so they were going to have to stop. But as many have pointed out, somehow they managed to have multiples of the coolest armor sets you can imagine in the cash shop every season without fail. Now, isn't that interesting? So when games like Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring come out of the gate with no cash shop at all, and all items can be earned in-game, well, that kind of puts the industry to shame, and players reward them with top-tier review scores, and most importantly, sales.
I agree. Microtransactions have become the overwhelmingly norm, and this has just become a huge problem. Like you said with Diablo 4, at first I didn't really care one bit about the cash shop, but as the game progressed, I realized that I stopped getting any good cosmetics. In fact, they seemed like they kept getting worse and worse, to the point I stopped even paying attention or caring about my looks. But lo and behold, the cash shop had these amazing cosmetics for like $20. This just automatically put a bad taste in my mouth for the game. I'm tired of everything being a money grab in the gaming industry. Well, all industries, but that's a different topic. It's become a commonplace for developers to lack content in order to make room for battle passes and cash shops. And in my opinion, if a game is going to have microtransaction, it should be a free game. That is how they make their money. But AAA studios that we pay $70 to $100 for the game and still have to pay $20 for each cosmetic and armor set, it's just ridiculous. Games like Elden Ring, where any set is obtainable just by playing the game. That is what we need. I had so much enjoyment going out of my way in order to find the perfect look for myself. The Knight's Cavalry armor was my absolute favorite, but you had to get pretty late in the game in order to even get it. So this was always something that I had to look forward to. If it was something I could just pay for, it would have taken so much of the enjoyment out of the game. And this is what it feels like to play most games now. The real issue comes down to that games should be single player, but they're turned into MMOs simply for the fact that they know they'll be able to add cosmetics to purchase. As long as a game can make you look cool to the people around you, they're going to try and get your money.
Another aspect these games nail that most don't is player engagement without the proverbial carrot on the stick. When playing through Diablo 4, the beginning campaign was actually really fun, killing enemies, looting, leveling. But once you stop leveling, looting starts to slow down to a crawl, and you start to see the cracks in the gameplay. It is not fun. You stop feeling any real progression, and the grind begins. Now, I have always loved some light grinding, but with the caveat that it's my choice, and there is some fun to be had because of whether rewards or engaging combat. This was not the case in Diablo 4, as nothing was fun. As a matter of fact, it became such a chore that Titan and myself would make up excuses as why not to play or push off finishing the game to a later date until we just stopped playing altogether. You could feel that the developer's design choice was to stretch the game out because, God forbid, you feel like you completed the game to a satisfying conclusion. Oh no, you have to feel like there is a reason to log in every day. Don't get me started on Destiny, they invented FOMO. Skip a few seasons, not even expansions, but seasons, and see how lost you are in the story. That prize gun that you loved, nerfed into the ground, and the activity that you paid for a year prior to has been vaulted and just waiting to be brought back out and resold to you. My first playthrough of Elden Ring was 76 hours, followed by 5 more playthroughs, each at least 40 hours. There was so much to see, so much to discover, and so many builds. With Baldur's Gate 3, the community has spoken. There is so much content for this game, content creators have planned out their first 3 playthroughs before they've even beaten the game once. With 1,700 different possible endings, every player could have a different story to tell. In my opinion, this is how you create player engagement.
When I say that I'm a casual gamer, what I mean is that I enjoy games so that I can escape and relax. I genuinely hate RNG games, and I prefer that anything that's in the game is attainable without being luck of the draw. Like I said with Elden Ring, certain weapons and armors I really wanted and were all attainable. It just took some time and effort to either find or kill someone to get that armor set. This gave me purpose and it was really fun getting to that point. But with RNG games such as Diablo 4 or one game that I absolutely cannot stand, Warframe, you have to spend hours and hours on one specific area or mission to maybe possibly get a rare armor, but it's still not guaranteed. One prime example of this is one of our friends, Ken. We was playing Last Epoch together, and he needed 1 shield to complete his armor set. That's all he needed, and he would be done. He spent weeks, and I'm not joking, he grinded every single day to get the shield, and he never got it. And this is the issue with RNG. It's not fun. It keeps the players who are willing to put the time in trapped, and that's all it is. When I play a game, I enjoy having everything offered to me that is in the game, not based on luck.
Please forgive me because I know there are millions of players who love nothing more than having a game with a good endgame, but boy, I hate no loathe the concept of an endgame. That hasn't always been the case, as the concept of having a game extend past the primary campaign was in its infancy. I don't know any gamer who would refuse more of what they already love. But fast forward to 2023, and the endgame means half-baked game with super grinding mechanics with the intention of keeping you playing, not because you really love it, but because you have to, in order to get a taste of what you really want out of the game. This has also meant feeling the effects of quote-unquote in-game players, reaching that point in the first day of the game's release, only for you to wake up the next day and have your character nerfed into the ground because somebody said in hour 105 that it was too strong, and you're still at hour 5 in the beginning area.
I'm honestly right there with you, Phoenix. I absolutely hate the concept of an endgame. While not liking the endgame is an opinion, and it's not to take away from people who actually do enjoy it. But there is one big problem with endgame in certain games. Diablo 4, again, this is my target since it is the most recent game. Every update during our playthrough ended up messing up my build and nerfing mechanics and abilities only because the in-game players complained. This is a major imbalance, and it became hindering and annoying. In Elden Ring, while there were a few nerfed weapons, but nothing was build-breaking or a total disaster. In most cases, it was unnoticeable. This is because they didn't have to worry about tending to the in-game players, which only hurt the early campaign players.
Elden Ring landed Game of the Year in 2022, and despite my previous thoughts that Baldur's Gate 3 wouldn't be in the conversation, I can see them edging out everybody for Game of the Year in 2023, just off of the back of being pro-consumer. The fact that these two games are outliers and not the standard shows you where we are in the gaming industry. I hope we see more and more of this each year until the masses can no longer ignore it, leading gamers to stop supporting these horrible practices for a much better alternative, and devs see the upside to creating a full and satisfying product.
All right, folks, well, that wraps up our video for today. So if you hate microtransactions, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. So join us every Friday morning. We'll be there.
You'll be there.